Hey everyone, I wanted to start off by just saying thank you so much to everyone watching. It truly means a lot. We hit 100 subscribers, and there is a lot of content coming, so stay tuned. The following information is for exploratory purposes only, as we stick to the comparing of multiple paths of understanding. Shana, speaker for the so-called Melchizedek Cloister Emerald Order, one of many soul groups overseeing the development of humanity for millennia, has provided the public with extraordinarily cohesive material, and it goes to no surprise that it gets taken off the internet by various reasons. For those familiar with the teachings, it would become apparent that those reasons do not stem from the material being offensive or endangering in any form, but rather a hard unacceptance of the material by those who have made careers out of the contemporary geometries blooming in many New Age circles. Thankfully, most of Ashayana's material is not lost. It's simply scattered across the web, and to help provide a better soul access point to all the free teachings before 2012, our archives will be linked down below. Most of the pre-2012 lectures are now being uploaded onto there as well. Since the removal of most videos on these teachings from the internet, the only substantial videos remaining are a 3-part 6-hour interview Ashayana had with Carrie Cassidy of Project Camelot in 2010. This interview goes a little bit past the basic teachings of Keylontic science, so it may require some background reading, primarily the Cathara Level 1 PDF. The basis of the interview discusses the topic of ascension and reascension, or the process of re-evolutionary determinism. The charts used by Iyasha are kind of hard to make out in the videos, so we have linked a PDF in the description down below with all of the graphs in high res to help follow along. The process of how souls emerge from source consciousness and expand into multiple layers of expression isn't just nice to think about or hearsay. The processes detailed within the charts and their complex intertwinement at least begs for some form of investigation or consideration. Ashayana explains how souls can either follow the natural path for ascension or choose what is called the step-back path, in which the incarnational memories stay intact, but the soul remains to incarnate in the same density for another period of being. There is another path a soul can take in this process of reascension, and that is the fall path. This is what happens when souls cut themselves off from source, incarnating until they burn out the remainder of the quanta they held, until they become part of the local environment, or space dust. This, however, is not permanent, as each local environment runs on its own cycles as well, and is reset along with the consciousness it is made up of. The experience of fall does not erase anyone from existence, it is just the experience of losing connection, a probability deemed to repeat itself archetypally. Further on, Ashayana explains the Templar wars that have occurred on Earth for millions of years over control of what are called the template pillars, or Templars. The entire electromagnetic universe and each of its stellar bodies are connected by filaments. Thus, every star interacts with each other much like plants sharing a grand root system. The Cathara grid and how it arranges itself into complex structures is the template of manifestation for this said root system. The lines, or bones, being the filaments connecting the balls, or spheres, which are individuated spaces to hold consciousness. The bones being pathways of energy between each system. The Templars are also called stargates. However, this name can be misleading, as they are not megalithic doorways or even portals of any kind. These are specific energy points on the ley lines of our planet, which allow organic safe bilocation through the use of our Merkaba. These stargates or Templars open during specific periods on Earth, and can only be used by souls that have their connection to Source intact, not beings that have cut themselves off from Source via extension of their life to avoid reciprocity in karma's reincarnational order, not beings that have used technology to make themselves as gods in their own eyes, able to continue their existence infinitely so long as the technology supporting them is in good shape. A being that passes through a wormhole severs its connection to Source until they return as space dust essentially. Many false sacred geometries actually constrict the Merkaba to 60-degree angles or even higher away from the base 45-degree configuration. The spin of the Merkaba is what allows your particles to bind to their antiparticle counterpart to convert into a radiation wave for safe passage through the very filaments this cosmos is rooted with. Inorganic Merkaba technologies can allow only passage through wormholes, which all lead to fall systems, entire solar systems that have been cut off from source via distortions in the rotations and overall configuration. Our solar system is at the tipping point of becoming one of these systems, as it is feeding multiple fall systems itself. The disconnection from source on an energetic level severs the inflow and backflow of antimatter into the manifestational template. The three counterparts of the trivecca are thus antimatter, antiparticles, and particles. It is important to note that falls do not happen on a universal level either. Everything is sort of embedded within the larger framework of reality, and if it falls at a smaller level, nothing and no one is truly ever lost. Everything survives. Souls simply flux in and out of different continuums according to their actions. Shana explains how death is not natural and only occurs in systems that suffer from this disconnection. Continuous ascension is the natural order in systems that are still intact. The Andromeda Galaxy is one of these systems. Our galaxy was actually partially split off from the Andromeda billions of years ago, and the gradual Andromeda Milky Way collision is more of a reunion than a first meeting. Our planet is still connected to its host star in M31, however, and that is why Earth is such a primary battleground over these Templars. It is the front lines for the fall system to gain access into splitting further chunks off of Andromeda. Continuous manipulations and subsequent patches of Earth stargates have been occurring for as long as humans have been around, as well as additional grids being overlaid onto the planet in order to assist or subvert the planetary Merkaba and its residing species Merkabas and DNA as well. The last time the stargates were open was during the last dark ages of Atlantis. The timeline of events Shana provides in her book Voyagers I takes Theosophy's understanding of our global timeline to the highest degree of detail, and we will be covering that timeline in detail very soon. The final sinking of Poseidonus is actually dated by Shana to be 9558 BCE. In the records of Theosophy and Tibetan Buddhists, respectively, it was 9564 BCE. The details on Atlantis, Lemuria, Hyperborea, Polaris, and events before these seedings are fully detailed as well, as providing a better understanding of how they all emerged. Stargates are only open during specific periods of time, as we mentioned before. The last time, according to Shana, was 23,000 years ago. Stargates are only open during seedings or evacuations, and the last time was an evacuation from the remnants of late Atlantis. This led to the Iani Massacre, an event during which all the Templars were raided and seized, presumably by the Turanians reigning over at this time. Since the last flood and our split into global pockets of survivors, our remembrance of these wars has weathered heavily. The Cathara grid and its subsequent structures are maps for ascension. These are the maps for how souls ascend into common realms at the highest levels. Shana also provides information on where the fall systems affecting us are located, how exactly we are offset from our natural configuration, including the effects on the orbits of our planets, the separation of Andromeda and the Milky Way with corresponding charts, as well as how the Earth gets its 23.5-degree tilt, continuously going between Polaris and Vega as pole stars. Because of these misalignments that have been implemented over our own solar system over the course of its existence, the natural cycles of time have been constricted as well. Much like the Merkaba gets to be, these constrictions of the original Uego cycles are what are known today as the Yuga cycles. The elements of truth contained within each and every philosophy around the globe are shared commonalities that we all hold on to since our last great separation. Our modern-day ability to share our diverse cultural landscapes is a grand rejoicement of the mass subconscious like no other. Our global history belongs to all of us, and the cataclysms our ancestors experienced impact each and every one of us too. Our solar system is said to have originally had 12 planets. The ones missing from the current count are Pluto, Chiron, Nibiru, and Maldak. According to the events in Voyagers II, our existence before Earth took place in a higher density on a planet named Tara. This planet existed in the higher dimensional counterpart of our own solar system, particularly the next density up the scale. and was in a binary star system with its companion planet Tiamat. When the destruction of Tiamat and subsequent Tara, the fragments of those planets fell into our density, reincarnating as our solar system and its 12 planets, or fragments, of the higher dimensional solar system. The host star in Andromeda is our solar system's counterpart on a density even higher than the continuum in which the cataclysm of Tara and Tiamat had occurred. The planet Maldek is the counterpart of the bodily remnants of Tiamat in the higher density. This means that the asteroid belt we see between Mars and Jupiter are the remnants of these sister planets' exploded planetary bodies. The asteroid belt with its comets move in a retrograde orbit, as does Nibiru, the outermost planet in the solar system. Counterbalanced by an artificial satellite named Wormwood until around 2003, Nibiru today is a desolate dead planet, depleted of its resources by its previous inhabitants. Chiron itself has also fallen to being used to partially make Wormwood and other artificial satellites as well. The tilt and disposition of all the other remaining orbits comes from the damage caused to the rest of the solar system. Everything in the universe is spinning. Everything spins at different speeds. If something is altered in a system, the spin speeds will be rearranging themselves to a new balance, albeit constricted. We'll be going over the entire timeline of these distortions in better detail very soon, as we will be going over the entire 550 million year timeline of events presented in Voyagers II. As previously mentioned, stargates only open during seedings or evacuations. The root races of theosophy are in no doubt various seedings orchestrated by overlooking soul groups. Ashayana makes note of why this information is being made public in our day and age, and why it has to be in the public in at least some form for those who resonate with it. Standing in your own frequency is the ultimate message of these teachings, that no matter where you find your resonance, to follow that. Our lineage is extremely complicated. The concept of star seeds is almost redundant, as quite literally every human being on the planet is a starseed, bearing genetics from dozens of other star systems, aside from even their incarnational past. Our genetics contain dormant code that we inherit from even before the events on Tara. Further charts show us examples of how our planetary EMF energy, yen-yun flows, have been distorted into toroids, as well as graphs showing how every single layer of these energy flows corresponds to each other. No detail is left out for why something is the way it is in a chart. It is highly unlikely that this complex system for multidimensional physics and biospiritual ascension is a figment of Ashayana's imagination. The sheer amount of material that exists would have taken decades to concoct, and yet it is all free to simply consider. It isn't some sort of hidden cryptic school of teachings that requires you to exchange currency or devotion for information. The entire body of work is up for grabs, if it resonates with you. Ashayana provides all this information in extraordinary detail and in a very friendly way, and the level of understanding she has for it is so high, yet she exemplifies the qualities of a messenger, not a teacher. This information is solely for those who are interested, or whoever finds a hint of resonance within the teachings. The doors are wide open to anyone who wants to compare this set of teachings to other paradigms of understanding as well. We strongly encourage everyone interested in hearing about all of these subjects in greater detail for yourselves, and to check out the full interview that will of course be linked down below. All of us have the potential to assist our planet's EMF grid by helping out our own personal grids. Thank you so much again for your time. We'll see you very soon.